Well, folks, welcome to another one of the CARB 2020 Hall of Fame induction videos. And we have got with us here tonight, or this afternoon, I guess we might say, Gary Truelove. Gary, first off, let me congratulate you on being inducted into the CARB Hall of Fame. It's really quite an honor, isn't it?
Yes, and you should know. Yeah, we're going in together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is, and I don't know how you feel, but it gives me a feeling of worth or something, you know, like, hey, after all these years, they did know I was here. They really did. They knew I was here, you know. So yeah, it really feels great, you know, to know.
I was going to say, so many times, plus racing is so big.
Yes.
In the Kansas City area, and so many people.
Right.
That, like you say, sometimes you feel like you get lost in the numbers.
Well, you know, you do. You feel like you was lost. But then on the other hand, you think about it, golly, there's so many more that should go ahead of me.
Oh, yeah. Well,
why me?
Oh.
You know, all of a sudden me. Yeah. Because I know a lot of guys, and be honest with you, I don't know who's in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't paid any attention to it. I know a few, but I haven't looked to see, and sadly, I haven't ever been to the museum.
Yeah.
Which we were planning a trip soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great feeling. Yeah. Great feeling.
I think at the banquet you will get a program, and I think it lists all of the people that are in there. So you'll have a permanent record of that and know who you are in there with. And I've seen one, and it boggles my mind to think about it, because like you say, it is a who's who.
Yes.
Of auto racing in the Kansas City area. And I'm like you, it's just an honor to even be nominated, let alone actually be accepted. But Gary, I guess we were talking on the phone the other day, and you were telling me that you just really got started by an accident.
Pure accident.
I mean, not a accident, but...
No, I didn't fall off a ladder and hit my head and say, let's go racing. But a friend of mine wanted to race, he said, and he had a car, and I ran a gas station and worked on cars, so I think I was 22 years old, 22 or 23, and 23. And so I patched this old car up for him, which best I knew how to make a race car, because all I did was kind of copy Pete Corey and Flywheel Bellinghauser that ran at Riverside back in them days. And I'd go look at their cars and kind of manufacture this Studebaker in that manner. And it wasn't a race car, but it had kind of a roll cage in it. And the friend of mine didn't show up for the last couple of weeks, and I didn't know what to do, and I said, well, we'll take it to the racetrack. And my wife said, okay. So I had a tow truck, so I hooked a tow truck to it, and I went to Riverside. Well, halfway there, my wife asked me, she said, what are you going to do if he don't show up? I said, hell, I'll just drive it myself. And she said, you hadn't even got a helmet. And we went past Ferguson's motorcycle shop, I think it's Prospect, and I whipped in there and got me a 1995 helmet, and we rode to Riverside. Well, the guy didn't show up, so I got in the car and made a few laps, and what do they call it? Hooked. I was hooked. I was hooked on race. Man, I got to go home and fix this car.
Yeah.
And I bought another Studebaker for parts and fixed it all up, and we had some fun, a lot of fun, but didn't know a diddly do what we was doing, you know. So, yeah, that's pure accident. The kid didn't show up, and we had to put a number on it. I went to Studebaker, and then we switched to Chrysler in '69. That was after my wife won a powder puff derby, and found out that you got goodies if you won. That was so we'd had 6 years of fun, but we didn't know you could win races and make money. And so the first race I won after she did, the guy had to come and tell me to come down and get a trophy.
Yeah.
And I got that, and I went back to the pits, and then they yelled at me later, Truelove, if you want your money, you better get over there, getting ready to close the window. And I found out you got money. So, back then it was probably $25 or $35.
Yeah.
I don't remember, it wasn't much.
Yeah.
And I know in 70, because in 70 with a clean sweep, I get 111. So, yeah, so it wasn't a lot of money back then, but we didn't have near as much money in them cars
as they do now.
No.
Talking about your wife and the powder puff, wasn't it you that was telling me that she won one of those, and was it Al Manning?
Al Manning, the florist.
The florist was the trophy guy.
Trophy guy. He gave her a smooch and a trophy, and they presented her with a little minx thing, stroll. I don't know if it was mink or might have been jackrabbit. But it was around the shoulders, and a wig, which she didn't wear a wig, but they give her a wig because that was in style back in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Wear a wig and some jewelry and dinner thing, to go out to dinner. No cash, but a lot of goodies. And I thought, well, that sounded.
That's not all bad.
No, got a trophy. And so I tried harder. Instead of just having fun, I decided maybe I can go through them places, and I learned that I could go pretty easily,
Yeah. Starting out with a Studebaker, though, I'm sure that wasn't the choice of many folks that raced.
No.
How long did that car last?
Oh, just 1 year.
Yeah.
And we ran it. We even went to Moberly, and we had a lot of fun with it. Because we'd never seen nothing like it, and I had the gas station. Bardol was a big thing back then.
Oh, yes.
So I had the decal Bardol man on there, I mean, just for looks, because we didn't know you could get sponsors. And then the little restaurant next door to us, they come over and said, hey, look, if you'll put our name on that car for advertising, we give you and your pit crew a steak dinner every Saturday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there was like 5 of us.
Oh, my.
And so they give us 5 free dinners every week.
Wow.
Well, that's a pretty good damn sponsor,
Wow, yeah, that's
especially
good.
back then. And never dreamed that you could get a sponsor with money. I still don't think you can, because I never did. I had them all with merchandise with no money. But I had some good sponsors that I could not have raised without. Don Link at All Right Auto Salvage sponsored a lot of cars. I bought a 58 Thunderbird from him. Went to his salvage yard, and he charged me $25 because I was going to race it. And so I fixed it all up, put a roll cage in and everything. We raced it, and they had a race at Olympic Stadium for stock cars to see how they would work, and took it over there and ran it, and it run good. I mean, we'd been having good luck at Riverside and everything with it, and after the race he come down there and he said, hey, he said, thought you was gonna put my name on there. And I said, I did. He said, well, where's it at? And I said, right there on the quarter panel. It was about this big, 6 inches by 6 inches. And he said, well, I kind of expected bigger than that. I said, you charged me $25 for the car. And I said, he said, from now on, anything you want. And he cried a lot of times because I went over there and got almost brand new Chrysler bodies.
Oh, really?
And a 440 motor. If we blow a motor, we'd go there and he'd cry because he didn't want to give that motor to me because he wanted to sell it, But he would. He'd give me that motor or that body, and the best sponsor I ever had, I think.
Yeah. I think you told me
and he passed.
Here recently. Or
no, it's been a few years.
I think you did say, though, it was 6 years before you won your first race.
Oh, yeah.
And now what kind of a car was that?
Well, I started off with Studebaker, and the first race, I go out there, and I never been on a track in my life, and the damn steering arm would lock up, come off of 4, and it would go around that telephone pole, and then it'd go straight. So every lap I went around that telephone pole, for a few laps, and then they black flagged me. So that week, that's when I had to go buy another Studebaker. I bought another 55 Studebaker. They had a good steering arm on it, so I could get that because you couldn't buy parts. Studebaker had been out of business. And so we ran that year. We didn't do any good, but we had a lot of fun. And we went there, and we went to Moberly and a couple other tracks. And then the next year we switched to Ford. Okay. A friend gave me a 57 Ford body and had a 312 motor in it. We put a roll cage in that and run it. And we ran, I don't think I told you, but we ran a Riverside with it, of course, and Lakeside a few times. But one time they had a race at Holmes Park Speedway. Holmes Park Speedway. Now, this is clear out south of Cleveland. On the state line, you go south of Cleveland, there's a little jog in the road and goes around, and right in that jog area, there's a racetrack. There was then. A little quarter-mile track. And so we went, and they didn't have very many cars. They had 10 or 12, but they were some stock cars, some sprint cars, some looked like dune buggies or street stocks, I guess.
Yeah.
But they put them all together.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Didn't have enough cars for one race, so they put us all together. And I won. I won the heat race, I won the trophy dash, and I won the feature.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we'd go up to get our money, and I had a brother-in-law that was partners with me in my gas station, and we had a head mechanic that worked on cars there. So I said, well, if we ever win anything, we'll split it 3 ways, because we all work on it. So go up and get paid, and, well, we didn't have any trophies. They didn't get any trophies, so we don't get a trophy. And then the money, they paid by however many people were there. So I got $9. It's funny because it cost us $4 a piece to get in, but it was $9 and split 3 ways, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. $3 a piece, So that was actually my first win. So I didn't go 6 years without a win.
Okay.
But you can't count that. I never had. No trophy, $9. And run with other cars, so I didn't count that one. But we went 6 years before we won at Riverside, and then we won a lot. We won quite a few at Riverside.
I was going to say, talking about Riverside, that's more or less really where you cut your teeth, though.
Oh, yeah.
Was running at Riverside, but then a little bit later on after that, if you could tell us what year, that might help. But you want to have a try out at I-70, but things don't really go in your favor out there. You have a pretty bad wreck out there.
No, we ran Riverside for years and had a lot of fun and never won a race, and then run Lakeside a few years with it along with that, and then didn't win no races. And we went to I-70 and the car wasn't right, and so we had to wait till 70 to go back, and with the Fury. And we had a bad crash down there, and it tore that car all up. And that ended my I-70 career until 1976, we went back. But I took the car that originally built for I-70, in the last part of 1970, we took that car to Riverside. And we won races at Riverside and Lakeside in that car. And we ran down at Adrian and other places, and
I presume those cars in those days are not what would be an I-70 or a Lakeside car today.
Oh, no.
Probably all of them ran leaf springs.
Mostly, yeah.
Probably all of them, and the suspension parts weren't that much different.
Don't know what Terry Bivens was running. He was, he was super fast at I-70, and in fact, I had a chance to drive one of his cars one time, and a friend of mine went with me to get the seat fitted, and my friend was a body man, and he started measuring the front frame on Terry's car, and just out the door we went.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to drive that car,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know whether he had leaf springs. He probably had coils.
Yeah.
But most of them were leaf springs then,
but none of the sophisticated stuff
oh,
that we've got today.
Nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
You know, it was so different for all of us.
And
but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it was until '76 before I got back there again.
Yeah. Talking about I-70, you were telling me on the phone when we talked the other day that you were part of the reason why they put up a wall around the inside. Now, did that have anything to do with this serious accident that you had out there?
Yes, I'm sure it did. They didn't ever send me no letter saying that they give me credit for it. But at the time, in the rules, I read the rules, and at the time you could run side glass, and you didn't have to have the doors fastened shut. It was in the rules. It didn't say nothing in the rules about fastening the doors. So I ran doors that opened and shut, and I ran side glass, front glass, rear glass. And
this is just the old safety glass that came with the car?
Yeah, stock glass.
Okay.
And one hot night, and I rolled the side windows down and taped them shut, so it wouldn't, in case something happened, no glass would fly up. Well, we was running in and come out of turn 4, which was my favorite turn. I blew a right front tire and hit the wall.
Outside wall?
Yes. Grandstand side, and tried to hold it there. And it bounced off of that wall so hard, it went bam and across the track and hit that guardrail. And not straight on, but at an angle. And it hit that guardrail, and that car was heavy. And when it got up so high in the back, it just went on. And it went like pole vault. And it went over and over and over up in the air. In the air. It wasn't hitting on the ground.
Okay.
It was all rolling in the air.
Yeah.
Because I was high, and I could see people running, and it looked like ants because I was on the pit side of the wall.
Right. And
these pit people was running, and I went past the control tower, and I thought about waving, but I just looked at them, and their eyes was this big around, So Danny Roberts, he was up there, sitting there, and the announcer, and so it come down about halfway down the straightaway.
Oh my gosh!
But it was in the pit side, and it come down upside down on John Eppenheimer's car, upside down on top of it, and it blowed all 4 of his tires out. And then the car rolled sideways 2 or 3 times. Those times I could feel.
Yeah.
And when it's in the air, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like, why? And then when it hit, though, when it started moving on the ground, you could feel it, and it was hurting. And
yeah.
But it landed on its wheels, all of them flat, some of them gone. Tony Maselli, my best friend, was there, and he opened the car door up, undone my belts, reached in and picked me up like a little kid, because he is a big guy.
Yeah.
And he carried me over and set me on the ground. And so the next week there was new rules that you had to bolt your doors shut or weld them, and you could not wear no side glass. And then they built the new concrete wall, which was higher, and a car couldn't get hooked in it, it would go
flipped over. Right.
They never gave me credit for none of that, but I'm sure that's the reason that those things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and another thing that I think that you pointed out that really played a big part as far as safety in racing was I-70 started instituting a lot of these rules as far as, like you say, safety equipment, which after they did that, it started spreading to the other tracks, which was probably good for drivers.
Oh yeah, they started had to wear a fire suit. And they had to check your helmet, make sure that they were like .5s then, I think. They had to check them, make sure they were up to date. And it went it spread to some of the other tracks where we started having to do that too.
Uh-huh.
Of course, we already had them if we run I-70.
Right.
And then it come a year or so, you had to wear fireproof underwear.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, now, this is dumb. I mean, I'm hot. You know, it's 150 degrees in that car, and they
Yeah.
want me to put underwear on under my fire suit?
Uh-huh.
Well, you have to do it. So I go by them, and not even knowing that, well, that layer of fire suit in there, you sweat, and that would hold the moisture, and it was actually cooler than just running a regular fire suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a good rule,
Yeah.
and you needed the rule,
Mm.
but it was also good for you. I mean,
Yeah.
it helped you keep you cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, but
Yeah.
cooler.
I was going to say, I remember back in those days so much. I mean, seeing guys in T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
even running, well, they weren't really sprint cars then, but super modifieds and stuff like that. No gloves. Did you wear gloves?
No. I finally started wearing just regular old leather gloves because when you put so much camber in your wheels, it gets hard. You know, I've had blisters on all my hands, you know,
Uh-huh.
just from holding on and steering them.
Okay.
And so I started wearing leather gloves, you know, just to protect my hands.
Protect your hands.
No fire retardant on
Yeah.
them, you know, or nothing like that, like they do today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, boy, I shouldn't say you feel lucky because there are many of the guys that raced in that era that are still alive. But, I mean, the safety equipment from that time was not the best.
No. And in fact, I don't know how I lived through some of the things that I went through,
Yeah.
the wrecks.
Well, I was looking at some of your notes, I think, there a while ago, and you said something in there about several concussions and.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of bad ones at Lakeside. One year, and it was probably '76. I blew a radiator out going into turn 3 at Lakeside.
Well, that's a dangerous spot, too.
Oh, yeah.
You go over that wall there.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Anywhere
about a
along
40-foot drop-off?
But I blew this radiator out. The end of it blew off and it split water all over the ground. Well, I spun around, and I'm sitting in the middle of the track, sideways, and the car won't start. Well, I'm buckled up. I'm not going to unbuckle.
Yeah.
But I can't get it started. And Mike Dibben, or maybe we shouldn't say a name, he come all the way around the track, pretty near wide open, and he come down the back straightaway, and I knew him real well. I said, Mike, you're going to hit that water, you're going to lock your wheels up, and you're going to hit me right in the door. And it happened exactly that way.
Right.
And he was sorry, and it tore his motor off the mounts and everything. He hit so hard in my door.
Wow.
It caved my door bars in. The next week, I went over and told Joe Wallace, thank you very much for building a safe car. That's the car I bought from him.
Yeah.
And it knocked me out. And when I come to, they checked me, and I was in shock. They didn't know that, but they turned me loose.
Yeah.
I changed clothes to put the car on the truck. And I opened the truck door so the guys couldn't see me change clothes, and the grandstand was there. So they watched me change clothes. And then I got a beer out of the cooler and walked all around the pits talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And nobody said a word about it. And I got back to my truck, and I said, what in the world did you guys do to my car? Because I had been in shock and didn't remember nothing. And so I'm sure that was a concussion that time.
Yeah.
And then when I flipped into the end over there and they took me to the hospital and I was in shock for 24 hours, I'm sure that was a concussion. At one time I was in a wreck and I had tire marks on my helmet. So I expect I had a concussion from that because somebody's tire come through the window and hit my helmet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Spun the rubber on my helmet.
Yeah. There again, talking about that accident at Lakeside, probably with this thing with Mike Dibben, you know, back in the old days, as I recall, you raced to the green. I mean, The yellow came out.
The yellow come out, you race back to the green, the flag.
You race back to the flag,
Yeah.
not like it is nowadays. Yeah. Plus, I can't remember, this is terrible, but did Lakeside have lights?
Yeah, well, no.
Like they do at most tracks now where they got them in 1 and 3. And
yeah.
But anyway, it was probably the old-fashioned rule.
They had lights, and the rules was if the yellow come out, you slow down. That was in 77, so they had changed that rule, and you was supposed to slow down. And he was the only one. Everybody else did.
Oh, okay.
But he come down the back straightaway pretty wide open.
Yeah.
And he didn't know all that water was there.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, he thought he could just drive under me and go on, but unfortunately, it tore the whole side out. We fixed it.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
I had some good guys that helped me with my car, and excellent welders and excellent engine builders in all classes, and people I worked for helped me a lot. You know.
Speaking of that car and of Lakeside, you buy a car from Joe Wallace, which I'm sure he did really good in, because he did good, I think, in everything you raced.
Yeah, at I-70.
At I-70, but you try it at I-70 for a while, isn't that correct?
No.
Or did you went right to Lakeside?
I went right straight to I-70, and we ran at I-70, and then we ran at Sedalia on a mile and a half mile, and we run I-70 and won 2 features. Second feature was exciting because who knew at the time it was second place driver was Rusty Wallace.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
And third was Paul Larson, and here's Gary Truelove in front of them boys. You know.
Yeah.
Of course they were young, you know, but they had good stuff. But they were young. But we run that car out at I-70, but we did then take it to Lakeside and tore it up.
I was going to say, there again, you have another little rollover thing there.
Yeah, we did.
Remember what happened on that one?
Yes, I know what happened on the last one. We come around the turn, and these cars, the newer cars like Joe built, instead of using leaf springs, they used Heims joints and bars, you know.
Okay.
And this one was at a 3-point, and one of the Heims joints broke. They're half-inch Heims joints. They're heavy duty. We checked them every week, and I put STP on mine to make them smooth and work good. But we checked them every week. Joe told me to make sure to check. If you ever see a crack, replace them. And we check them every week. Well, that week, one of them broke. And it broke on the right rear, and when it did, it turned the rear end, and it broke the one on the other side. Well, now it's broke them all, and the rear end goes back under the car until the drive shaft could fall out of the drive shaft loop. You know, we had a loop to keep the drive shaft in. But it came back so far that the drive shaft stuck in the ground.
Oh, my.
And it was like a pole vault.
Yes.
You know, and it went all down. Again, it's not like rolling on the ground. I'm in the air, and I'm rolling in the air, and this thing come down, kaboom, right on the nose, just like dropping a bomb. It left a hole in the track, you know, about this big, and of course they took me to the hospital. That was the end of that car.
That was the
that
no
was
more for that
car.
one.
In fact, I sold Joe Wallace the rear end back out from under it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that was the end of that car.
Yeah.
And we had run it. We'd run it like at Shreveport, Louisiana, and Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, really?
And, you know,
wow.
yeah, we had run all over the country with that car, and with other cars too. When I run IMCA, we ran pretty near everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think 52 tracks I ran at.
Wow, 52. I thought I was doing pretty good. You got me beat by probably 30.
Well, you probably never made some of them northern trips like Wausau, Wisconsin, and Madison, Minnesota. And
No.
then all the way to Shreveport, and then we'd went to Shreveport every year for several years. And then the last time we went to go there, it rained them out. And we had to, just was one friend of mine, which has always helped me, we're together. I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, well, I guess we'll go back home. And it rained. And I said, how about us going to Phoenix? He said, Phoenix? He said, that's a long ways across the country. And I said, well, the Manzanita Speedway is having a big shootout. And I said, so we went. We went on to Phoenix and ran that car. And we got crashed there. Not bad, but we got crashed out. And we ran there 2 years at Manzanita. Of course, my mother lived there.
Oh, okay.
So that helped. You know,
Yeah,
we had a free motel.
I was going to say a place to stay. Yeah,
Yeah, we had a place to stay and hang
saves
out.
some money.
You know?
Yeah. I gotta go back a minute to I-70. I missed this question, and you've got to tell this story. This was a 300 lapper that you were running, and you said I think halfway through the race they had a pit stop.
Oh,
and you went in for the pit stop. Tell us about the pit stop.
I know what you're talking about. They had a wreck. It was a big race. We had a wreck, and of course I always had a cigar.
Yeah.
I smoked them. I don't know if we can tell the names or not.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Great big old green cigars, and House of Windsors, and I chew on them. I didn't smoke them because we was racing, you know, but I'd chew on it and I had it in my mouth. And
this was an open face helmet.
Oh yeah,
and goggles.
We had windshield, so we had the open face helmet and the goggles, and I lit the cigar during the red flag because we were going to be there a while. And I'm smoking on my cigar. Well, my best pit man there, Bill Gross, he comes along, big tall guy, you know, and he sticks the gas can in and fills it up. Well, it shuts off automatically as soon as you pull it out. Well, it didn't shut off, and he walked past the car, and the gas was running on the car and me, and it got on my leg and stuff, and no big deal, you know. I'm just sitting there, and then they put out the yellow, so we pull back out, and we get some speed up. Well, they dropped the green. We get some speed up, and the wind's blowing, and I see sparks flying off this cigar. Well, I knew gas was all laying down on the floor of that car and on me. So I held up the finger for the water, and I pull in the pits, slide in there, and they start dumping water on the radiator. I said, no, on me. In here. Well, they drowned me with water because the cigar I'd thrown out, and it had bounced back in that gas.
Oh, no.
And I was afraid it'd catch on fire.
Yeah.
So they dumped the water in, and I got back on the track. I didn't lose but one lap. And so we wound up getting our places back, and I still wound up 5th or 6th in that race. So I was happy with that. But that was a dumb moment, you know. When you race cars I raced for 30 years, but I only actually raced for probably 14 in between years that I didn't race.
In and out.
Yeah, so, but you learn after 14 solid years of racing, you learn all the little things that can happen. If you don't think it can happen, you just wait.
What is that, Murphy's Law?
Yeah, it will happen.
It will happen. It will happen. Not only were you a driver, and I think it was only for 1 year, but you also did some promotional work at Riverside, and I think it was mostly to do with the company that you worked at. But you guys did promotions with Riverside to help them out.
Yeah, we did. We give extra money for the feature winner. We'd interview and give them free products, spark plugs and some chemicals and stuff.
And what company was this?
Machine Supply Auto Parts.
Yeah, I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah. And we promoted that. I would take a microphone and do the interview. I would also stand in the corner, not so much for the stock cars, but for the sprint cars. I'd get that microphone out there where you could really hear that motor going, whoom,
Yeah.
and get them good sounds. And then I'd give them to Jimmy Dallas, which was, his real name was Kenneth Kissy, but he was a singer, a musician, Jimmy Dallas, and he worked for the little newspaper in Northtown.
Oh, okay.
And so I'd give him that, and then he had a real radio show.
Well, see, I was thinking I recognized that name from radio.
Jimmy Dallas, yeah, he was on radio.
What station was it? Wasn't KCKN or?
Probably KCKN.
It was over in Kansas City, Kansas.
And he would use our commercials for the Machine Supply Auto Parts commercials. and he'd talk about the cars at Riverside going, and then there my sound effects, woom 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 woom.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, we promoted for a whole year, and
that had to be a little different thing for you to kind of do.
It was different and it was fun.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I knew all the guys, you know, so it was kind of a joke on the side too.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say, Jim Hager, come here, man, you won. We got to do this commercial. Gary, I don't want to do that. Well, we got to do it, Gary. Well, you got to do it, man, because you're going to be on radio. Really?
Okay.
Talk about Liberty Auto Parts. That's all right with me.
Uh-huh.
I said, but you're going to be on radio, and yeah, we talked. So our cigars didn't bump, and we talked, and good commercials, and I got to do them with all the sprint car drivers. You know, hard to remember Ed Fitzgerald and Charlie Kraft and Jimmy McMurray and Al Manning, and you know, just so many of them. It's I'm getting told. I can't remember as well.
Oh, you and me both.
God, there's so many.
Tell me about it.
Wonderful people that we raced with, against, and all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just lost a good friend out of Irving, Texas, that we raced IMCA all the time together with, Tommy Taylor, and he was a sweetheart, you know. And Gordy Blankenship is up in Iowa.
I see him on Facebook all the time.
He's a character. Of course, he put on some pounds.
Uh-huh.
But Tommy bought a car from him one time, and we took it down to Texas World Speedway at College Station and raced it, and it's quite a deal. And so I get friends everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I can't imagine 52 tracks, man. That's
and all over the country, and we had 10 or 12 around here close that we went to all the time. And
out of all that racing and all that stuff, have you got one favorite memory? I know you kind of told me about an article one time that Larry Castor had kind of set up for you. I think it was a quarter-page layout in the Kansas City Star.
Yeah, that was probably in '70 when I went back to dirt and I was winning a lot of races. And Larry was, I think he was the announcer at Riverside at that time. He wasn't. He bought it later on or ran it. But he was the announcer, I think, back then. And
so he was kind of promoting the track anyway.
So he come to me and said, "Well, you know, we're gonna do this." I said, "Yeah, sure." So I go over to Kansas City Star and sit in the office with them guys, you know, and they said, "Just come as you are." Well, I had my work clothes on, and of course I had a whole pocket full of cigars. And
that's the way I remember it, Gary.
Flat top haircut, you know, and sunglasses, and I walk in there and didn't have a clue what the hell they was going to do, you know, and we just sat and talked, and took my picture, and I had a picture in there, big, you know, that was with, of course, they had the cigars and the whole works, you know, and it was and a nice write up. I mean, several. I can't tell you the guy, the sports writer at that time, but I lost those articles. So
that's a shame.
Yeah, that's all my fault. But you know, I should have kept them. I didn't think.
Right.
Didn't think I'd ever need them.
Yeah.
Golly, you guys called and said, "Hey, you might need some of that stuff." Luckily, my son Greg is latched on like fire suits and helmets. And he's got that $1995 helmet.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And I told him, he called me one day, he said, "I want that helmet." And I said, "Son, you can have it. But whatever you do, don't let nobody wear it." You know, I had even took the lining out and hot tanked it.
Oh, really?
To get the scratches and stuff off. And then I sprayed it with texture paint and gold and stuff. And, you know, and I still used it. But when they come out with the new rules, I had to get a new helmet.
A new helmet,
But that helmet, he still got my 1995 helmet on his display, which he's got a nice display with his trophies and my helmets, his helmets.
Is there one racing memory that would be your favorite? I mean, I can understand. I mean, how many people end up in the Kansas City Star? But is there a racing memory that you have out of that? A big win, or
I don't know where to start. You know, I have so many really, really good ones. Like I said, beating Rusty Wallace before he was famous. You know, but that was a favorite thing. I mean, it wasn't a favorite thing then. It was because they had such better equipment than I had. But it wasn't a big deal because I didn't even know who they was. You know, he had this big afro haircut.
Yeah. You didn't know he was going to go out and race NASCAR.
No, and racing with Jim Hagerman up in Minnesota, banging fenders but you know, I told my son there's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 races in your lifetime. If you race all the time, there's only like 5 or 6 times, if you're lucky, you have some really good races.
You mean where it's really competitive, where you're racing with somebody?
Where it's really fun. I mean, extra fun. One was at Riverside in '70. I lapped the entire field but second place car.
Wow. Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm pushing him. And we got into trouble because he pulled in to get the trophy and they waved him off and I pulled in. And so that was one of them times where everything went your way. Everything was perfect.
You're right.
The gates opened, you went through, you know, it was perfect. Another time in Shreveport, Louisiana, I finished 4th or 5th in a race. And you don't get excited about 4th or 5th, but here's this 4th and 5th place cars, like this, for 300 laps.
Oh my God!
Half-mile flat asphalt track. And afterwards, I was as happy as I could be. It was so fun. And this kid was come over, and he was the same way. He said, "Man, that was a race." I said, "Oh yeah, quite a race."
Yeah.
And I had some other ones like that. You know, with Donnie Allison at I-70, we run that away bumper to bumper to bumper, and we don't win, but we're right there. And it was just such a close race.
Right.
And so I've had 4 or 5 of those my whole life, and as far as saying a favorite one, it just...
Yeah, that sounds good, man. That sounds like fun.
You know,
like you say, that would be a blast.
Oh, it is. The competition, when you're close with your competition and you're running really competitive, you have fun.
Yeah.
And you're running close and clean. There's no banging, no spinning each other out, nothing like that. You're back and forth, and it's just so much fun.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Switching to modern day, I think you've got some new thrills going on in the racing world right now, in that your son, Greg, if I remember, Greg, is racing late models, which of course was your favorite class.
Yeah, but he took the 47.
Yeah, at I-35.
Yeah, which is a story behind that. When we were in Lakeside and he was starting out, well, my nephew and his son wanted to race, so there's 4 of us.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that.
I couldn't get 44. So I got 49 and run this old Plymouth, and my nephew got 45 and 48, and he also got 46 for a friend of ours that run, and Greg got the 47. So when Greg come back to racing, he ran the 44 in the modifieds. But when he come back to late models, he ran the 47. He started back with the 47.
Right.
So we've got the 47 going again now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like you were saying here just a while ago, we were talking before we started of how you're up there watching Greg. And what I compare it to is when my son wrestled in high school. It's a single where they're racing by themselves, more or less. It's not a team sport, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're out there by themselves, and it's all on them. And I can remember when he was about to get pinned. I mean,
you've been backwards.
I was laying like this, pushing that shoulder up just like he was. So you're probably up there in the stands, and I think you were saying something about, well, he needs to run low. He needs to run low.
Oh yeah, I'm excited and telling him where to go. Of course, he can't hear me. You know, but I'm saying no. And most of the time, he did just what I was saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he knew what to do. You know. And then once in a while he would get in a position where I said, no, you shouldn't have done that, and it showed. But my other son would be sitting behind me telling me, shut up, you're going to have a heart attack, Dad. And everybody's looking at you. I said, I don't give a damn. As long as he wins the race, he's got to go. You know?
And he had a pretty good year. Won 4 races.
Oh, yeah.
And was second in points?
Yeah, and 15 heat races he won. And
wow.
So, yeah, he had a great year, and he got Sportsman of the Year at I-35, and
like I say, kind of rekindling them juices a little bit.
Oh yeah, and I met so many old friends at I-35 and Vester Cates, and these guys come in, and I hadn't seen them for years since we quit I-35 or I-70, and you got to see them, and lo and behold, here comes the CARB. First off, I guess they've got this KC Racing Hall of Fame.
The CARB Hall of Fame?
No, KC Racing Hall of Fame.
I don't know about that.
Diane
Green
and her husband has that, and he come up one night and told me I was in it. I was elected into it. Well, I was number 44 into that Hall of Fame. And I thought, well, that was an honor. Of course, at the time, I was thinking it was CARB, and it really felt good. But then I found out it was a smaller type deal, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you see, he was thinking about me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here comes CARB. And they're going to put me in the Hall of Fame, but they said to wait till after the banquet. Don't tell nobody. Well, I zip my mouth shut, and we go to the banquet, and on hold me hold, but we get the Tom Carrick Family Award, which floored me. You know, I mean, all of a sudden in my life, you know, God's really good to me.
Yeah.
You know, He's always been good to me, but all of a sudden here lately, the racing gods have stepped in and helped him. You know, because it's really been good.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what this is going to be like going into the hall.
Me neither. It's a nice ceremony and everything. Of course, I've videoed several of them.
I've seen some of your videos. I've seen last year's video.
Yeah, and it's a fun deal. It really is. But one other thing I wanted to ask you I know that over the years that there have been lots and lots of people that have helped Gary get out there and do this and help get to the track. And I know how hard it is to remember all of them, especially when some of it was so long ago. But who were some of those people that were just behind you, encouraging you, were there when you needed them?
Well, my wife was number one, you know, Greg's mother. She was always behind me. Sometimes she told me to quit, sometimes she told me to go.
Yeah.
But she was always behind me, whichever. But then as far as helping on the car and stuff, Henry Swinner, from 17 years old till he died at the age of 54, luckily. But Bill Gross is my best friend that come right there all the time. The very first one that really, really helped me was Tony Marcelli, which is my best friend in the world, and him and his wife. And we met at the racetrack, and we hit it off, and we're using a big socket, putting it on our floor jack and jacking the car up onto the rear end to tell how much wedge we got, you know. And these guys over there using to see all fancy equipment. We got the floor jack and the socket. Yeah. And we run foot races at Riverside, you know, during intermission and stuff.
Yes, I remember.
We do dumb stuff, me and him, and one New Year's Eve, I'm pushing him on a tricycle down here on Shoto. You know, and we're blowing whistles and having fun and shooting balloons off, and I mean, just the best friend in the world.
Yeah.
And he's always been there for me. If it's been a confrontation, you know, somebody wanted to confront you at the track or something, he was there to back you up. If I needed help on the car, a roll cage welded or something, he'd be right there. I could call him right now, and he'd be here. 10 minutes.
Right, that sounds like Tony. All right.
Yeah, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
So he's always been there. Bill Gross is always, he started right out of high school helping me in the 70s, early 70s. Randy Wood, we called him Fats because he was a little big then. And, you know, Charlie Thompson up north, one of my best friends that passed several years ago with diabetes was Sonny Holland. He worked at Machine Supply in the shop, and he had a shop in Edgerton, Missouri, and we run together. He helped me for years and years, and it really was nice. I've got a list of, you know, probably 30.
Oh, I know.
That have helped me. Gary Small had a body shop in Excelsior. He would do some painting, and he also built the engines for me. He was a drag racer, but he built some engines for the Chevys that run awful good. They won a lot of races. He's retired and living in Smithville. And Jerry Moody, he owned Machine Supply after the Brewers sold out. Jerry bought them 2 of the stores, and I worked for him in Excelsior, and he let me use his shop, you know, and of course the parts was all at cost, and the machine work was there. We had the equipment to do with, and I have been so lucky with so many people that helped me, and like I said, I've got a list, but it'd take all night to give you the name.
I understand.
It'd take me an hour to name off the tracks I've run at, you know. So, and there's probably at least 10 stories about each track.
Yeah.
And each trip. You know, I mean,
I was gonna say.
the stories go on and on, and I mean, there's some you can tell and some you can't, you know, but funny ones and sad ones. But it's racing is the best thing in the world for anybody to do.
Absolutely. To
get involved in any way, if you're a owner, a driver, a pit crew, a spouse, you know, a child. My kids grew up at the racetracks, and I outside of a few personal problems they've all turned out to be really good. Some of the kids, the grandkids, aren't quite coming along like they should, but they're coming. And in fact, I got 5 that are definitely going to be at the banquet. Of course, they're all grown. You know, they're all 16, 17, 18 years old now.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Grandpa, we're going to be there.
Yeah.
We're going to be there.
Absolutely.
You took us to the cave. Yeah, we're going there.
Gary, let me just say, it's been an honor to interview you. Like I told you on the phone, man, I watched you race for a long time.
Yeah, I've been around a long time.
And remember the cigar? I mean, probably stood out in my mind about as much as anything.
How a guy remembers that.
But once again, let me congratulate you, Gary, on being inducted into the CARB Hall of Fame.
Yes, same time.
Yeah, all right.
We'll be right there together.
We'll be together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
If I faint, hold me up.
We'll do it, buddy. Thanks a lot, Gary.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mike.